Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unscripted for Tuesday, May 12th. I'm Pastor Chris with Pastor Paul and Pastor Matt, and we are live here today for another episode of Unscripted. We were having some technical issues there a second ago. Paul, can you hear us? I know, it's shocking. Paul, can you hear us? Yeah? Okay. Blink one if you need us to come pick you up.
Internet problem.
Okay. Blink one if you need food. Blink once.
Yeah. If you're being held prisoner,
blink twice.
Off twice.
You probably
can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now I can hear you.
Did you see the beginning of Unscripted yesterday, Paul?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Did you see
I did not.
Okay, good. Don't watch it.
Okay.
All right, good. All right, so we are here at Unscripted. I am at the office. These two guys checking in from the home office location.
Office today. I was on the phone so much this morning and for so long that at a certain point I was like, I'm just going to keep working from home.
I see you massaging your hair, and I notice that you keep looking at my fresh do, and yet yours is very much out of control. I have a barber. He also plays guitar. We can call up and send over. I don't know if he does house calls or not, but we can send him right over.
I'm going to pass on that.
Okay.
I'm going to pass on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So today, I will just jump right into it since you bring it up.
Sure.
Today, Good News Tuesday. The good news that I have for Good News Tuesday is that all the salons and barbershops are back open. So while I'm still kind of Wolfman jacking it up today, I do have an appointment for Thursday afternoon. Gonna go get a nice professional haircut with my lady Noelle at shout out to Backroom Salon in Sanford.
It sounds like a speakeasy.
It is. You got to know the special knock.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this doesn't. You got to see. I was showing you earlier. Look at this little guy right here.
Look at that.
Can't do anything with that. I should just spike it up like alfalfa. So, but yeah,
I've got about 3 cowlicks on mine. But mine actually are better once the hair's longer. When it's short, they're almost uncontrollable.
Oh yeah. Everybody kind of has that, but I thought about growing it out long enough that I could just do the straight back. Just totally one kind of thing. I don't know. What do you guys? I think I'd look a little bit too much like a used car salesman or something, and no offense to used car salesmen, by the way, but so I don't know. I'm probably just gonna stay with my usual because that looks it's manageable under a motorcycle helmet.
I think you could look like a pretty good mob hitman if you slicked it back there. Maybe a white suit. Yeah, you could really pull that off.
Definitely white shoes for sure. White patent leather shoes.
There you go.
Well, that's Florida hitman style, though. You know what I mean? That's
correct.
When you're in Miami and you gotta whack somebody. New York, you go for the darker suit. So.
Wow. So let's see. Today is Good News Tuesday. It seems like every Tuesday that is Good News Tuesday, I am bombarded with bad news. So I'm going to defer Good News Tuesday. No, I was looking up and trying to figure out. It's so funny. Did you know you can put subtitles on YouTube and it auto-generates subtitles?
I did
know that. You can do that. Yeah, well, I didn't. And it's so funny because I was looking at the other screen to see how many people were on, and it's auto-generating you being a hitman in Miami. And I was like, this is not something that's probably going to be on a lot of church podcasts.
Right.
That was funny.
Let's screenshot that.
Yeah.
Put it up. On
Right.
today's Unscripted, we'll make that the thumbnail for the video when it's done.
Oh man.
Well, that Johnson, that reminds me of the story of the guy that was the president of the Guatemala Lutheran Church. Remember when he got shot by a hitman?
Yeah.
It was the pastor he was the president of the Guatemala Lutheran Church, and he had discovered that the guy that was president before him had been embezzling a bunch of money from the church. And he and the treasurer of the church were headed to the Attorney General's office in Guatemala to report this.
Oh no. Did we lose Paul?
We'll find out how this story ends. Well, obviously he got shot. Did he live? Nah, we're never going to find out.
Press 1 if you know. Okay.
I know.
Like choose your own adventure.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, that's fun.
Who remembers choose your own adventure? Let us know in the comments.
So, it's interesting because I know he's going to come back, but Paul, we had a deal with CALMS. It was the Central American Lutheran Mission Society. And they had just asked me and Kevin Keelan to go down to Guatemala to go film a video because we were going to go do some work down in Guatemala. I told you this story, I think, right? And anyway,
I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Well, I'll share it because it reminds me of his story. So we're, I don't know, this is probably 14, 15 years ago. I was doing a lot of video work and they asked me to come down to Guatemala to do this video. So I got Kev, they were going to get our tickets and they just said, tell us when you want to book your tickets. And Kevin Keelan, hey, Paul.
Okay,
Paul.
I'm back.
Wait a second. Now I'm telling them, because now we're at a cliffhanger with your story. I'm telling them the story about me and Kevin Keelan getting ready to go down. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on. So Kevin and I are getting ready to go down to Guatemala to go film a video so we can go do missionary work down in Guatemala. By the way, after we tell both these stories, nobody's ever going to want to do international missions. It's all right.
Nobody's ever going to want to. We're not doing anything for Guatemalan tourism. I'll tell you that much.
Right, yeah, exactly. So we're getting ready, and Kylie, my daughter, I only had one child at that. She was like one year old, less than a year old. And Kevin comes back to me and he goes, dude, I just had this horrible dream last night. I had this horrible dream. We cannot go to Guatemala. I'm like, oh, get out of town. We're going to Guatemala. I go tell Paul and I'm like, dude, I was so excited to go. And now Kevin's like, I'm telling you, I had this dream. We are not going to Guatemala. You can go. I'm not going. Well, I couldn't do it without him. I needed him to go. And I thought he was being silly. And in fact, I even kind of joked with him. And Paul, we were both like, come on. So anyway, they find somebody else to go. And they fly into Guatemala, this new camera person, this new cameraman. They get into a white van to go to the church. But they got in the wrong white van. They got in a kidnapper's white van. The white van takes them down a road, and like this dirt road, pulls them out, robs them, takes their cell phone, takes all their money, leaves them at night in the middle of nowhere in Guatemala. And the whole way they were talking about whether they were going to shoot and kill them or not. But one of the passengers who spoke Spanish told them that they were with a church and like, don't do it. Just let us go, take what you want and let us go. Neither Kevin Keelan and I spoke Spanish. I'm sorry that happened to that person, but I would not have been able to negotiate. and so anyway, Paul comes back. Like, I didn't hear about this. Paul comes back and Paul is like, hey, remember that dream that Kevin had? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, I don't know. I guess maybe he's prophetic or something. Like, holy cow. I remember just thinking, all right, I'm never going to discount that again. I'm not always going to believe it, but I'm not going to discount it either.
Yeah.
Because that was nuts. Yeah.
Today's episode of Unscripted brought to you by the Guatemalan Board of Tourism.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Do you need a good reason not to go to Guatemala?
So Paul,
we've got two.
We left off with, you said he was on his way to report the guy that had been embezzling, and then that's when you froze.
Yeah.
So
they were taking the books, and he and the treasurer were going to meet with the attorney to talk about bringing charges against this guy that had been the president of the church before. And as they were on the steps of the courthouse, this drive-by car comes by with machine gun, no lie, machine gun across the whole thing, takes out the treasurer. He dies right there on the steps.
Oh my goodness.
And the president, the pastor, he's hit in 3 places, but he lives. He has to go to the hospital. And as soon as he gets well enough to get out of the hospital, moves to Miami to try to get away from this, and has lived in Miami ever since.
Oh, wow. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Man, I knew ministry was tough, but.
Oh, hey guys, I got to make our first announcement. In October, the first weekend in October, we're sending 6 people down to Guatemala to build a house.
Yeah, that's
so just
right.
Sign up.
Let us know in the comments if you'd like to go.
None of us are going.
If you'd like to donate a ballistic vest for each person.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That is the crazy story, though. I wonder whatever happened to that guy. Like, did he go to jail?
Yeah. I don't know that he ever did, because I don't know that they were able to bring charges against him.
Oh my goodness.
That is nuts.
Yeah, but it's, you've been down there, I mean, they have armed guards on their Pepsi trucks.
Right.
I mean,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
right. Not on their Coke trucks, but on their Pepsi trucks.
That's right.
Big demand.
Yeah.
Big demand for
right.
Pepsi down there. No, but that was the first thing.
That
was
and
the
Shasta.
Shasta. That was when we went, the first international trip we went to Panama. And Paul, you were with us. And the first night, one of the first nights, we went to the mall. I can't remember. Somebody needed something, and we ended up going to the mall. And the thing that was, one of the reasons we went to Panama is because everybody said it's very kind of American friendly. There's not a lot of crime, and we had a great time. Both times I went down to Panama and we did mission trips. It was amazing down there. But I was taken back, like, when you go into like every store, whether it was a supermarket or a mall, like there's a dude right at the front door with like an automatic weapon, like eyeballing you, and you can say hi, but he's just gonna grunt at you, and he's there to make sure that the dinero does not go out the door. It was such a different world, down in all those Central American places that we went.
Yeah. And
sometimes people will say, well, this kind of is, a bad part of America is like a third world country. No, it's not. It's not like it at all.
Yeah. Have you ever actually been to a third world country?
No, it's not like a third world country. They still have, avocados, and they're not fighting each other for it. And there's not armed gunmen all over the place,
Yeah.
They're not siphoning gas from your car when you park. No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was. So Lana, your wife, said the family that she knows from Guatemala, who are great people, never go anywhere without their private guards. That's the other thing, the private guards. Paul, you were talking about that, but like the next time we did send a group down to Guatemala, but they traveled with armed guards basically the whole time. Like, we didn't have to do that in Panama when we went both times to Panama. And I walked around Panama with a couple of people. I never felt threatened. It was great. But I remember that next group went down.
We always felt terribly protected. We were fine in Guatemala also. I mean, it was just a couple of incidences,
Just the kidnapping that took place.
Yeah, that's it. And Just, it makes you look at white vans in a whole different way,
Yeah, no doubt. And the fact that they used a white van, yeah, that's the stereotypical move right there, even in
Yeah.
Guatemala.
Man, Good News Tuesday is taking a different twist today.
I can't be in charge of Good News Tuesday. I'm sorry. Matt started the first story out with a haircut, and it went downhill ever since then. Yeah. Well, I mean, there is good things happening.
Hey, here's good news. Have you seen the pictures from what is it, Michigan, where they had the snowstorm this weekend? Did you see that? They had a blizzard.
I think I did hear some about it. Yeah, or at least some people in my Facebook feed got snow in the last week. Which is ridiculous. And so the good news is that we don't live there. We live in Florida. That's the good news.
I thought they were supposed to. I thought they said that the warm weather kills this corona off. Like, shouldn't we be out of the woods now with all this warm weather?
I think that's just an urban legend anyway, though. I don't think that's really true.
But
or at least they didn't know for sure. They were like, maybe.
Certainly, we're not viral. We're not Dr. Fauci's, any of us. But but I mean, the flu does go away.
I have watched a few YouTube videos.
That's true.
Pretty much puts me on an equal level.
Hey, listen, I watched a few YouTube videos and I cut my kid's hair, so I don't know,
Well, I was watching the news.
Surgery.
I watched the news this morning, and they were interviewing a doctor. And actually, they were interviewing a guy that works for Johnson & Johnson, and they're one of the ones who are working on coming up with a vaccine for the coronavirus. And like you were just saying, whenever they start talking about that, my eyes glaze over because I can't understand what they're talking about, But this guy, Johnson, had my kind of explanation. He said, what we're doing is, he said, we're taking the other vaccines that we have for the other flus for earlier COVID, and he said, we're unscrewing that particular part of the thing, and we're just screwing on the COVID-19 portion that'll work to it. And he said, using basically the same vaccine, but just screwing on the other part. When they started talk about screwing things on and screwing them off, I said, okay, this makes sense. I can do that.
Right. That's mechanic talk. You understand that, right?
So great. They're taking the same philosophy that my kids take at 7-Eleven when they take their soda cup and do a suicide under each. Oh yeah, let's have some grape soda. Let's have some Sprite. Let's have some Dr. Pepper. Right. Ooh, it tastes so good. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you put enough sugar in anything, it kind of tastes good. But yeah.
If you put enough vaccine in anything, it's just knockout. Right. They're using the elementary school technique.
I think that's going to be the game changer, though, when they develop a vaccine, and people can start taking that, and then that's when we're really going to be able to start opening up and able to quit even the social distancing and all of that. We'll be able to just go back to normal.
Somebody in the medical field told me that they have never developed a vaccine for the coronavirus. I wonder if that's true or not, but I had heard that they never have.
I don't think it is because all right, so here's why. Because I saw a meme floating around of they had a vaccine for dogs. It was a canine vaccine for a coronavirus. And and it was just a picture of the vial that said that on there. But the meme was getting passed around as like, oh, see, they already have a vaccine. They're lying to us. And of course, the silly people doing that didn't realize that there's a bunch of different coronaviruses.
Right.
COVID-19 is only one. But at any rate, that would show
19.
Right. At any rate, that would show that they have developed a vaccine for at least some of the previous coronaviruses, at least for dogs.
Or at least a meme of the cure.
That's right.
Oh man. So yeah. Man, mission trips, dog vaccines, and it's all over now. Yeah. We had definitely go ahead. What were you
I
saying?
was going to say, why don't you give an update on what we were talking about right before in regards to this summer and VBS and all of that. Let people know
Oh, it's supposed
what
to
you
be
were
good
thinking
news.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Man, I
but
tell
that
you,
ship's already sailed, Johnson.
that ship. We're just gonna drop the moniker "Good News Tuesday." You know, we're talking about VBS, and we're building a Sunday school video that will go out either today or tomorrow, and then it'll be regularly on Sunday. It's going to be fantastic, and the kids will be able to log on, hear worship, hear a good Bible story. They'll see, me set it up. So we're looking forward to that. But the big question I've been getting is, what are you guys going to do over VBS? Holy Cross certainly has a long storied history of putting together very big, very elaborate VBSs. Our sets usually are starting to be designed months ago. And just with the coronavirus, the uncertainty that came behind it, and now listening to the reports today from Dr. Fauci and how we should be very cautious with kids when it comes to reopening certain things. Initially, we kicked around, why don't we do a VBS with 100 people? We spaced them out. But the problem is, we fill up 400 seats of VBS like that. We'll fill up 200 registrations within the first day. And so I know if we open a VBS for 100 students, there's going to be 300 people that are going to jam my email and they're going to be ticked off. And that's not fun. That's not good. How do we determine who gets the 100 seats? I don't know. So I was talking with Erica today and talking with Pastors Matt and Paul. And I think what it looks like now is some type of virtual experience where we'll, design some type of set. We'll try to do our Rocky Railway set, and we're gonna try to create a virtual experience for it. That's not what we wanted to do. We kind of held off making this announcement, but I would be brokenhearted if you know how kids are. You get and so one of the questions that just popped up is, why not do a Holy Cross only VBS? Because that was never the intention of VBS. The intention of VBS was supposed to be an outreach to kids who don't. The first time I ever heard about Jesus growing up in a secular home, I was walking downtown in our small little town, and I saw 4 of my friends at the Bandshell Park, and I said, what's going on? They said, hey, come join us. We're doing VBS. And that was like the first time I remember hearing of the gospel. And I would go to VBS every year. And then I ended up leading VBS a couple times too, like being a character in VBS, which that's funny how that works out. So that was my big concern is if it's only 100 spots and if it's designed to be an outreach, I wanted it to be that. So what it's looking like right now is that we'll do some kind of virtual experience with our main characters. We'll have, worship. We'll try to figure out how we can do some crafts. But we're going to put our heads together. And I mean, we do excellent VBS. If we say in the next few days, we're going to do virtual VBS, it's going to be an excellent virtual VBS. I guarantee you that. But I just don't see how we can do it for any more than 100 people.
Right. And even with that, we do want to keep people safe. And, that thing you were watching today was saying that, perhaps kids are more vulnerable than than they were initially thinking, and we don't, and, a grown-up church is one thing, at some point, probably I'm figuring when we go to phase 2 in Florida, we'll start having some in-person services again. But it's a lot easier to get grown-ups and families to social distance.
Oh yeah,
than it is like elementary school age kids.
Oh my gosh! When you get the preschool kids together, you gotta try to don't drink their cup. Don't drink their cup. Like
Yeah.
it's
6 feet apart. Yeah.
Johnson, even the middle school kids can't keep their hands off of each other.
No kidding. No kidding.
Right.
Kuchar says, did I choose Jesus during VBS? Kuchar.
For those of you that don't watch all the time, that references a conversation we were having yesterday.
Well, and the sermon.
And the sermon, yeah.
That got me a lot
how
of...
we come to salvation. Oh, that reminds me, I never did share that little comic strip. I should probably still do that. It's pretty good. It's solid too. It's good stuff.
That got me. That first part of my opening of my sermon got me some comments. So that was good.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to it all, I pulled one of the VBSs. Very, very long story short, because I don't want to go back into the whole thing. But as Lutherans, we believe that God is the originator of our faith, and so we don't do things like altar calls where we say, "Hey, if you want to choose Jesus today, come on forward." Right? We don't do that in the Lutheran Church because God is the originator of our faith. We do testimonies and things like that and talk about how Jesus worked in our life. But we'll never have an altar call. We don't choose Jesus. Jesus chose us. And so Kuchar jumped in right there and he said, did you choose Jesus? Because he was sticking it to me from my message there. I forgot that Kuchar is Baptist. I'm just kidding. So anyway.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it is 2:04 this Sunday, the altar call. How do we block Kuchar on Facebook?
That's right.
Can we do that? Can we block Kuchar?
He's gonna do one during worship this Sunday now. We won't be able to stop him unless we run on stage and tackle him. No!
It's funny.
I do. I'm sharing that right now, so I don't forget.
I
have a verse of the day.
I forgot to tell you. People are also asking about the mission trip. We have a new mission trip planned. It's in my backyard. It is called Rebuild Chris's Septic and Drain Field. It's going to be super fun. Paul's going to be leading it because he's got a vast experience in septic work. And
there you go.
Yeah. We'll be starting to GoFundMe.
Just have a bucket.
Special door offering for that.
I'm crying and laughing.
Yeah. Chris's septic system.
So dumb. I am tunneling pipes because I know down at that new place down there that they are connected to the county. Paul, I think we can dig holes and just connect pipes. Capital
just
campaign.
Do it. Do your own guerrilla sewer system.
I've got a mole over at my place who's doing some terrific tunnels. We can probably use him.
Does tremendous work.
Does anybody know how to bait a mole? I want to steal his mole. Oh, that's funny.
All right. Do you guys want to do the verse of the day? I got the verse of the day today.
Let's do it.
The goodie. So again, I use Bible Gateway. So they have a verse of the day every day. And today's is from Proverbs 31. And it says, a wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. And I liked this verse for two reasons. The first is it allows me to make the joke, yeah, who can find a wife like that?
That's pretty bold, considering your wife is on here already.
Right.
I know, that's right. She's commenting furiously typing as we speak. But no, actually, the real reason is, and here I'm going to undo all that, hopefully, is because no joke. I did watch my wife spend like 2 hours watching videos on how to do geometry, and then spend like another 2 hours teaching geometry to my daughter. And so not only was I super impressed and thankful for that, because I myself could not do that at all. I could watch way more than 2 hours of videos on geometry. I still wouldn't be able to do that. But then also, I'm sure she's not the only one. I'm sure there's lots of moms and wives out there that have been really picking up a lot of slack and doing a lot of stuff for their kids and for their families during this time. And so I thought that that verse would be a good opportunity to kind of give a shout out to some of those wives and mothers out there that have been doing such an amazing job during this pandemic.
Two things. Number one, your wife says guest room. That's the only comment that she posted, guest room. So good try, but you could not redeem yourself. Secondly, I don't know if this is true or not, but this was pretty funny. One of the memes came up on my Facebook post the other day, and I didn't repost it because I don't know if it's true, but I know that he had a hand in it. But it said that Isaac Newton invented calculus during a plague.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
What have you done?
Yeah, and it said something too like, how bored do you have to be to invent calculus?
No kidding. How does that happen? You know what I'm going to do? Let's just invent some calculus. So if you ever get mad, kids, at calculus, just it's because somebody had a lot of time during one of these plagues.
Well, you know, that verse talks about you find the woman of noble birth or of noble stature. And then it said, doesn't it say one of the measures is that she's not lazy? In other words, she's always doing something.
Yeah, it says, well, and what we just read, it says something like poetic, like she does not eat the bread of idleness.
Yeah. When we were down in Guatemala, working with Ben and getting the coffee that we were doing down there in those villages, there was another guy that we worked with, another not-for-profit, that was providing stoves for, a matter of fact, it was out of Orlando. The guy was out of Orlando, but they were mass producing this small kitchen stove type thing on the order of a wood stove, okay? Only it was fired by propane, okay? So they were going around to all these little villages where the Indians were, the Guatemalan Indians up there in the mountains, and they were offering them these stoves for free so that they wouldn't have to. They set aside a day and a half every week for chopping down wood and then chopping it into pieces so that they can burn it the next week. They go through so much wood to do all these wood fired, and the women will start those fires early in the morning before everybody else gets up, and then they'll go all day long until they go to bed at night, and then they put them down. But other than that, they're feeding that thing all day long. So they said, here, have these propane ones. You won't have to run them as long. You just turn them on when you're going to use them, and it'll be so much better. And so they handed them out. They came back the next year, and they had handed out like 50 of them in this village. And they went from house to house. Not a single one of them was being used. And they were using them for end tables and things like that, but none of them were cooking on them. And they said, why aren't you cooking on them? And they said, because the women in the village would not talk to them because there was no smoke coming out their chimney on the top. And so they figured they're lazy. They're not making food today. They're not cooking. They're not doing anything for their husband. They must be lazy people. And then once they tried to explain to them, no, we're making food. We're just using this. And they said, well, that's still lazy because you're not putting wood in it. You got to go out and get the wood and then come in and put the wood in it. Then you're not lazy. Other than that, you're lazy.
That sounds like Nick Bosco making fun of me when I don't use charcoal and I use propane to barbecue.
Right.
Gives me a hard time. Oh my goodness. That is amazing.
It had to do with their character. You know, they,
Yeah.
in order to be the good wife, to be the good mother, to be the one that's providing, you needed to be chopping wood and throwing it in there, you know. Otherwise, you just weren't worth anything.
Well,
And
that's kind of what Matt says to Lana, right? Like she has to wake up and chop wood in the morning, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we're still on a wood burning stove here, Johnson.
Wow, that's amazing.
but it's interesting because what it tells us is how we measure somebody's personality is an ever-changing thing, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Well,
Wow.
because even like, for my wife, it's her handling all the science stuff, science and math. When it comes to McKenna, I can't help with that stuff. I'll help her with the English assignment, but that's something
She helped
that
my
she's
daughter. She helped my daughter with chemistry.
chemistry.
It's like,
Yeah, that's right.
Call Lana. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
so
the thing is, I can remember, and when I got married, which was now over 40 years ago, I remember telling my friend, we were going to the laundromat with our laundry, and it was the week before my wedding, and I said to him, just think, this is the last time I'll ever have to do laundry. Because I was getting married, and I figured, my wife's going to do the laundry. That's going to be how it is. Well,
Right.
You all know my wife. That didn't happen.
Right.
And so, there was, my mother figured, if she wasn't making 3 meals a day for you, she wasn't keeping up her end of the bargain.
Yeah. I was totally, Paul, waiting for you to go. In fact, I'm doing laundry right now. And like,
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, that's the last time you're gonna. No, you're not. That's not gonna be the last time you ever do laundry.
No,
That's
no.
for sure. I remember
Right.
one story you told me though, which was great, when you went to somebody in the family's wedding and you had just been married, and it was like their 50th or 55th wedding, and it was their anniversary party, and you went to it, and you had just been married, and you looked at Betty and you go, oh my Lord, I cannot imagine being married that long. And she punches you and like, what are you talking about? It's just, I've learned so much of what not to say from my mentor, Paul.
From Paul.
I can't imagine
I can
being
tell you a
married
lot
that
of things not to say. Yeah.
That's good.
It's a wonder I've made it as long as I have.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's true for all of us, I think, honestly. Really.
After this episode, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Looks like I'm not the only one that's going to be sleeping in a guest room tonight.
I might have been the only one that made it out unscathed today. Shit, my wife did warn me one time. She goes, I know you guys call it unscripted, but you three might want to watch what you're saying. There's actually people watching. Good to know.
That's what keeps it real, folks. That's what keeps it real.
Well, it's that time again, folks. 2:16, so we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow we have Unscripted at 1:30. We've got Paul's Bible study at 5:30, and you can revisit any of these episodes on our YouTube or our Facebook page. So there we go.
I don't know. Along that line, I don't know if you talked with Dennis this morning, but he was looking at our watching this past weekend. And you remember the Sunday before we had like 5,000 people that watched it live. Okay.
Yeah.
The service. And he said we were down like 10% this week on watching it live, but the rewatch, the ones who came on and watched it later, we doubled the number we've ever done before.
Oh, wow.
So people are rewatching things like this Unscripted and the service. And when we had the drive-through, I had several people who said, I really like the 8:00 traditional, online, but we don't watch it at 8. We watch it at 10. I'm
telling you, man, my biggest concern is when we actually start doing this again, we're going to have to like entice people back with omelet bars and frappuccinos and wear your comfy jammies to church.
That's
And
right.
whoever's not preaching, like, is it the server that day? Can I get you some more?
We're installing a slushy machine and a
Yeah. Oh no, you're
and
gonna have to do mimosas in the back after service. I don't
that's
know.
right.
It's like we've created too comfortable of a situation here, boys.
I know. We've done it too well. We've succeeded ourselves into failure.
I have had people nervously laugh and say, "I really enjoy this." Oh.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you do wonder if when we start meeting again, like I've kept saying this, like I could see it go either way, where we get like a big bump in attendance because people are just excited to be able to come back after so long, or we get like a drop in attendance because everyone's like, oh man, this watching from home is great. I'm just gonna keep doing that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So who knows how it's gonna shake out?
Yeah. But it's been interesting. I still go back to, I'm still like blown away that we have to do what we're doing right now. Like, I just can't believe that we are still in the midst of a pandemic and that like Disney's still closed and we still can't, like, it's surreal when you think about it. That like they were just talking to you today about, you know, how are we going to do graduation for our academy kids, you know? Are we going to do it virtually? Or are we going to do it, you know, just immediate family? And I don't know. It's just, that's shocking to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you know, and the thing that I talked with somebody about this week that I didn't realize was they were talking about Sweden. And in Sweden, they never mandated that people had to stay home or that businesses had to stay closed.
Really?
They never did either. No, they didn't do either one. And they got through with a small curve, you know, the same way. It's because people voluntarily closed their business, voluntarily stayed home without anybody telling them they had to. That's the difference in America. So Americans are like, no, I want what I want, you know, and I'm going to keep going out. I'm going to keep doing this unless somebody tells me I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were calling the Swedish people lazy, and I will not stand for that.
They are eating the bread of idleness.
Yeah. So anywho, that was great. Thanks for everybody that joined us for communion this week. That was pretty awesome. And we'll do it again relatively soon, probably before we open back up. I'm assuming that we will have another drive-through communion. And if you missed it, we're probably going to be doing some kind of virtual VBS this summer. And somebody was just asking me about the crawfish boil too. We might just have to have the crawfish boil at Paul's house. I don't know. Like 20 people. I don't know. We'll
or do it takeout, man. Everyone comes in, loads up, you know.
That's not a bad idea.
Some things, takes it home, man.
No, we could do that.
That's not a
could
bad idea.
Do the auction online.
Well, I don't even know if we'll have auction items at this point. We'll just charge. Yeah, but hey, that might be a possibility. I miss that, getting everybody together for those things.
Yeah.
But anywho, it's 2:21. We better wrap it up here.
Yep.
For all of us. The final prayer for the day, and we'll check out. Oh, and the randomizer stops at.
I did verse of the day.
The randomizer stops at Paul Hoyer. Oh,
all right. I can do it. Lord God, we thank you for the beauty of this day, for the great beauty that you've given us here in Florida. And then we thank you, Lord, that we have no snow. We thank you very much for that. And we pray, Lord, that you would continue to bless us with fine weather. We ask that you'd be with all of those who are listening today, that their lives may be touched by your grace and your mercy, that you, Lord, might live in our lives in an everyday basis. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye-bye, everybody.